Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to Everything Meta, episode 23. And we're going to go right into what is going on with Yasha. Joey, how are you?
I'm excellent. How are you, Ken?
Amazing. What's
Cool.
happening with Yasha, man?
Well, I guess we could start with what do we do at Yasha? Because so sometimes
Yeah,
people think it's so much different than it is. But basically, the core of what we do is we help, right? We help people, we help other projects, we help entrepreneurs with their ideas. We're an incubator, accelerator, type of project. And so, somebody comes to us, they need funding, they need, access to something, they need, something along those lines. And if the DAO likes the project, then we go ahead and move forward. Sometimes we're already helping in the background prior to the DAO deciding, helping them put a package together. So they'll be like, "Hey, I have this idea. Do you think the DAO will like it?" And we're like, "Hey, like, you got to get this deck together, or you have to get some type of plan together, or your marketing materials together, so on and so forth." And then once they have a package, like we help them put together a package, then we can introduce them over to the DAO, right? Um, so now that we're doing this podcast thing, right? Now they can come on and sort of pitch video style,
right,
which I
right.
think is pretty cool. And then people can view it at their own leisure. But yeah, so basically lately the Protocol Zero project, ZRO,
Hmm.
had completed um a successful pitch to the DAO, and they moved through and had a very smooth launch in kind of a rough market. We did feel, because some of the funds that they were able to raise needed to go towards finishing up their development. There was going to be like a little bit of a lead time until they had all their deliverables ready to go. So launching the token prior to having some of the deliverables was part of the strategy there. And so I think they're well on their way. They're doing great. Dev is working super hard. It's nice, to have a, a project that Yasha was able to assist with, that, the team is super self-sufficient and ready to rock. Uh,
Mm.
which is pretty cool. And then from there, obviously we've had the Flash Tools project that came on the podcast not too long ago,
Yep.
and they've been building out all their tools for development and whatnot lately. They've been looking at the market. They really want to try to time the market with their launch and their delivery of some of their tools, and
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. We can accommodate whatever timeline it is. That projects want to push and see where they want to end up. Um, and so there's that, and then most recently, Farouk and Utkarsh have been working on this Tekken Street Fighter style game
Hmm. Hmm.
for some time. And so we obviously it's coming from Guzzler Studios. It's using a bit of the Guzzler tech. It's using some Morales tech for some Web3 integration. And I think it would be something uh cool and fun for the community. And also to reach out. One thing that Yasha really has to do now is, here we're almost alive for a year, right? We're
Hmm.
going on a year now almost. October 21st is the original date, but the core team at Yasha, which originally um was Hawk and Utkarsh and D and Tree and
Mm.
Sam Coase, and Steven and Nad. Nad was in there originally. And in a couple others that have dropped off in a unelegant way. you know.
Yeah, I remember I was there. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've managed to make it to about a year. So the original core team, has been together for about a year now.
Yeah.
And um we need to start growing. We can't continue to launch projects or raise launchpad style in the same community over and over again. uh
Mm.
as you always see, community sentiment goes up and it goes down, the market goes up and it goes down. So finding new people out there in the world that like that will like what we're doing and what we're offering, and what we're trying to contribute to the space as well. Um, so that's kind of where we're at. So this next one is going to be sort of a bit of a showcase of some of the development that one of the Yasha devs, Karsh, has been working on with Farouk, who's the chief development officer for gaming. Pretty cool. I
Mm.
do think that it would be great to have the game done and all the tech done and the NFTs done prior to launching the token, and that way people can start to earn, by playing the game, using BNB, as opposed to a token. If
For
we're
sure.
able to successfully build a pretty solid user base in the game, the Jeep Fighter game, which is like a Street Fighter
Yeah.
style uh
Yeah.
project, um then maybe we have a lot of users, and the token launch, right? The eventual token launch would be
Mm.
super hyped, which would be pretty cool. Maybe we'd even have a Terminator botter like DC coming after it. That would be pretty cool
Yeah.
too.
That would be. So you you hinted something for those of us who are uh part of the Cliff Telegram. It came in, just dropped the bomb, partial bomb, and walked out. Are you
Oh.
at liberty to discuss anything that you?
Yeah, just the original, we can't, the red dog stuff, we can't really be utilizing the red dog stuff, okay? Which is super unfortunate. Um, but the original, one of the fighters, the trainers that we sponsored a long time ago,
Mm.
okay, Cristiano Marcelo is like a legend in Brazil, and one of his former students is a man, another legend, by the name of Vanderlei Silva,
Mm.
who is a Pride champion, I think UFC champion. He's just
Mm.
like a overall legend in MMA. One of the best fighters, in his prime.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and he was wearing a Cliff shirt.
I
Uh,
see.
yeah,
Mm.
or like one of the fighter shirts that we sponsored everybody with, right? Um, and so I know Alien is a big MMA fan.
Uh,
Um, yeah, and so I knew he would fanboy over that. Like, it's crazy to think that you work on a project and then maybe one of your heroes, you know what I mean? Like, one of your heroes is wearing your logos. Um,
yeah, that's really cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's all it was.
Yeah.
People don't realize, I think it's hard. It's tough. Like, I think a lot of projects, Cliff is its own beast, right? Because it was a new innovation in smart contracts. Even now, I see, like, I was just talking to Budosh about this. There's like monkey forks, like the
Hmm.
contracts that Boo and Treese develop and put together. People like fork these contracts, dude, like crazy. They're everywhere. Our contracts are all over the place, all over the place. And so I, yeah, that's one reason why a token should come out, right? Is because y- you could put it on testnet, right? And see, but like what is the purpose of the space? Whether people interact with the token or not, that's up to them. You know what I mean? This is just my perspective, guys, but whether somebody interacts with the token or not, that's really up to them. The put a new innovation in smart contract being deployed onto the blockchain for people to interact with, that's like a totally normal fine reason to deploy a token, right? Like when we talk about whether a project should have a token or not, well, it's like if the project is the token, is the technology, then yeah,
Right.
absolutely, like you have to
Yeah, yeah.
deploy a token. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. For me, one of the I don't know what you've seen, right, in your time, but watching 11,000 plus people not just kind of hold this token down from its all-time high to where it's been, but also continue to accumulate, I think shows a lot of faith uh, in the project. Like, you I've seen a lot of ups and downs. Like, yeah, there's still some people looking to get out, but if you look week over week, like there's still, for something that is pretty, has been kind of dormant in the development of this playground swap. There still seems to be lots of interest. What's your take?
You know what? Goodness, I think that Cliff has the power, the ability to be a mainstay. Um, the issue is that the space is so cannibalistic, right? And the people that get into projects like very early are, they're in, they're out, they secure the bag, which is like it's totally normal, right? Cliff needs to generate revenue in order to continue to feed the LP, and it was able to do that a couple times, which is,
Mhm.
which had serious positive impact on the price action, right? Um, there's like been a few things outside of the team's control, and then a few things that maybe could have been remedied for a bit more quickly. um it's the community was it is very very strong. You know what I mean? that,
Yeah, for sure.
that could have been pivoted into being like the main utility of the project. The development in the project is really cool, and it was really kind of a shame to see like MCO, Muhammad Ali, had been working so hard on the sandbox development, and the co-developer for the sandbox development, it was at like NYC NFT or NFT NYC, with the
Mhm.
sandbox people. They got the sandbox people to demo it on their walkthrough of sandbox development, and so there was an opportunity there, and I think there still is, to appeal to a whole nother ecosystem. Like, hey, we're developers and we're building this in your ecosystem. Check us out. And I think that they did give us a bit of a showcase. However, that community management or that sentiment seemed to, be like a little bit, I'm not sure. In regards to playgrounds, guys, Cliff has its own team. Okay. In certain absences of, uh, or availability, due to hour scheduling or whatnot, like both myself and deregister tried to, step in. Obviously, it's a project that we helped, bring into the market, right? And so anything that those teams need help with in regards to development, hosting, anything, marketing, whatever it is, if they ask, we're always there for them. And we were, from the beginning. And I think like um, there might have been some confusion, being on VC all the time, and whatnot, and trying to communicate what was going on. But I think at a certain point, I think it's pretty crucial step back, let the team, do their thing and whatnot, and let it roll. So
Yeah.
yeah, playground wise, actually, I haven't been checking in that much at all. I know that Budosh is a brilliant young man, and if he's building something, it should be unique. Should be unique and something, something that the market doesn't really see. So
Yeah, and we've talked a lot online and offline about maybe the challenge of building something that may be unique and way next level, but when people don't recognize or value that aspect, because it's like that's not the thing that's going to send them to the moon, right? I think that one of the things that we can do, specifically, whether we're talking playground or just any other upcoming project, is to make sure that we're both communicating like, here is the technology aspect, and even if it doesn't directly lead to additional dollars right away, but here is what you are a part of, like, because maybe some people aren't aware that they may be, first to something that is transformational because they're sitting in it, they don't see it, or because maybe they don't understand the technology use, it's not as significant to them at the moment. I think sometimes these ideas are just lost on people, or they're not so concerned because they're in it for the money and they don't see the translation.
right. Well, it's tough, how do you man, look, the only thing that sends something to the moon, okay, is volume, right? Volume. And if more people are buying than selling, and you're seeing it right now on the Doge chain token DC,
Mm-hmm.
lots of
Mm-hmm.
volume,
Mm-hmm.
lots of people buying, right? More than people are selling, and they have such thick liquidity, like Cliff had, right? That these cells, I mean, it's such a it's so refreshing to see like 30 ETH buys, 60 ETH sells. You know what I mean? It's you finally, in the market recently, we've had such like a thin liquidity type of meta where
Yeah.
people like, bro, 5 million market cap with 60,000 in liquid, and
Yeah.
you're like, what the is going on here? Like, we even saw a token go to 200 million recently that had like 2 million or 3 million in their liquidity pool,
Mm.
and any of the top holders could just tank the project. So yeah, that's always pretty tough, I think. So anyway, there's that.
Mm.
So yeah, that's the only thing that matters. If more people are buying and selling and volume, you know what I mean? And generally, if there's volume that's drying up, people are there for the project, right? As opposed to the price action. During volume, a lot of people are there in the hopes that something is going to go up. If there's perp, then they can hope that it goes down too. You know what I mean? As long as
Mm.
there's volume and volatility, that's all a lot of people care about, right? And that's all that really matters sometimes in regards to price action. Um,
Yeah.
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 Now, project or development or contributing to the space, that's a whole nother thing. And that's kind of what we like to try to focus on at Yasha, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
obviously several of our contracts, okay, that both Boo and Trees have helped develop, um, have been forked to forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so many, they're all over the place. Some of the projects that we like to put out, like even the peace token, right? GATS burner peace. Although the
I
price action,
I was just about to ask
oh yeah, pri-
you.
price action suffering. Man, it's tough. It's a very bearish market. It's a bear market. I'm like, do you guys really want to launch in this kind of market? It's very hard. Okay.
Mm.
Uh, their project, right, which is appealing to a new demographic of people that are not yet in crypto.
Mm.
Okay. Um, maybe urban youth that have no idea, have never been shown how to manage funds, right?
Mm.
who are the idols that would help get them into crypto so that they could be their own bank, right? Um, I think it's a super important project. I think it has a really great goal in mind, and some of the things that they were bringing out, and some of the people involved in the project, I think are super cool, right? It's it's tough, like only a project like that does not need a token, right? It doesn't need a token, like personally. However, if they want to have a token, if the people want a token and they vote on it, by all means, I think it's a really great project. There's not that many. Like, you look out on the space, like scan the landscape, right?
Yeah.
How many projects have a upstanding, well-spoken leader like Anthony? Okay, those people like Jackson and whatnot, Rich the Factor, so on and so forth, Tony Gaines on the team that are able, with the goal of basically attracting people that are not in crypto, right? And being able to show them how, like, what to do through educational material, so on and so forth, right? It's a great project. You
Hmm.
know what I
Hmm.
mean? Otherwise, you're gonna have all these people be able to manage their own money, and then you're gonna have an entire, like, demographic of kids that have no idea, right? And
Sure.
if they have no idea what is interesting to them, like, imagine if all the kids that were doing, up to no good, right? Um, Getting in trouble and whatnot. If they found out that they could just hunt around or be part of these communities and support one another, like, it could be transformational,
Hmm.
you know? It really could. So that's why I like the project. That's why I support the project. The stuff like the unreleased Tech Nine album, so on and so forth. That's just super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there, and then you look at another project like Zero. Like, okay, everybody has dust tokens, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Everybody has dust tokens. Like, on ETH, people, the reason why BSC, well, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why BSC is so popular is because there's no fees, right? That's the only reason why some of these other layer two projects out there for ETH are even exist, right? To help ETH with scalability, to make more transactions, faster transactions, and cheaper transactions. And so, like, if everybody is bullish on ETH, if people want to help support ETH, if we want a EVM type standard, how do we help improve ETH? Well, you have people like Wonky, in the Protocol Zero project that are, working with Flashbot tech so that people are able to swap without gas. So all of a sudden now those gas fees, everything that people are complaining about regarding gas fees and whatnot on ETH, are not there anymore, right?
Right.
Doesn't that help? Shouldn't that get some attention? Obviously, there's some other development, elsewhere, but like the things that people will call, the things that people will try to push or draw attention to, they're not exactly helping ETH. It's a very small minutia of people that are actually in this deep to the point where they can get into some type of lark play at a $20,000 market cap, and then
Right.
see it go up to a $1 million market cap. It's a very small group of people. The other day, my fish place, my local place I go for lunch for poke
Yeah.
egg
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
The guy wanted to come in, or he asked me what I do. I was like, oh, I like kind of work in crypto. He's like, here, you got to put me on that, And I was like, okay. So I'm like, okay, buy some ETH on FTX, send it to your MetaMask, and then I think I knew somebody that was launching something relatively soon.
Mm.
So I'm like, here, copy paste this into Uniswap, and by 0.05 ETH or something. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is how you do it. This is an example contract. And that 0.05 turned into like zero point 0.4 or something, And he's like, oh my gosh, like, this is
Yeah.
great. Now he's getting all his friends in. They have no idea. Like, there's so many people out there that have no idea. that this sort of thing exists. And that's what Peace Project is doing. Once they get in, he's probably like, damn, I spent $15 to buy one thing, right? Like he has a
Mm,
fish store. If he wants to accept crypto or something for lunch, for poke, he can, but it's not going to be on ETH unless he's using
yeah.
like zero gas, right?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. I mean, you can't. ETH is not the best way to go to go about accepting transactions. Not yet, not now. But you're bullish on ETH, and perhaps it will be.
to be honest, dude, I'm the ETH retail space. I've never been more bearish on. I it's I don't know. I have a flawed perspective, because like I don't know everything. Okay, like I don't have a perfect enough mind to know everything that's going. But like, what is the point? Like at this point, like, what's the point of buying? You know, to buy LARP, to buy a LARP place. Why do you get?
Um. Well, there are some people, I guess, who still two things right away. ETH is still, less than half of its ATH, so there, there's the investment in ETH as an asset itself for that purpose. There are people who still feel like eventually the market cap of ETH will flip Bitcoin. So if you're that optimistic, then and you're super long on ETH, then perhaps. Um, there's another reason. I don't know. Again, for me, the way and I guess it's just a matter of where you're situated and what your goals are. For me, my investment strategy tends to be, as I've made gains in a space, I'm going to kind of, what is the word? I don't know a better way to describe it. Like in the NFL draft, I know you're not a big football guy, but in the draft, like if you're all set at a space, you can like um send your way a draft pick and kind of go back in the draft. Like, so in other words, I'll give you an early pick for two later picks. That's kind of my philosophy in investing. Like if I've 100x something, it is better for me to go take this money here and go back and try to 100x something smaller than it is to try to ride this 100x for another 100x,
Yeah,
because the odds of the 10,000x is kind of much smaller than another 100x someplace from a
yeah,
trusty play. So for that reason, I don't I wouldn't be as bullish on ETH. But I mean, how far is it going to go? 10,000 a token? Maybe eventually. But like in the meantime, what could you have done? I mean, I don't know how long that would take. Will it be 2025? And at that point, what is the opportunity cost of not being in other plays while you're waiting on ETH to get to $10,000?
right. Well, I'll tell you what. You need things like Protocol Zero, right? You need things like Neko. You need payment processing or point of sale with zero gas to make transactions sense instead of $15, right? In
Mm-hmm.
order for people to actually use or accept ETH, right? In many places. Okay. And that goes for things like like Bitcoin and whatnot also. But if people are using ETH as some type of currency, there has to be some type of scalability. So you have like things like Arbitrum, but then how do you get people that how do you get people to get knowledgeable enough, right? Because knowing ETH and then knowing how to bridge to Arbitrum and then having stores or restaurants be able to accept ETH using a layer two like Arbitrum and having their customers know how to do that also so that ETH
Right.
doesn't have fees. It's not realistic, right? And that's why things like Binance, are make sense. That's why supporting things like Doge, right, could actually make sense as like some type of like money, type of processing, right? So people can use
Mm.
their Doge and whatnot. And so, yeah, but it's 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 I gotta think. I gotta I gotta think. Like I think Protocol Zero, like I think it's a good project. It can help ETH. It can make ETH more useful.
Mm.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty bullish on Binance lately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I am. Cheap fee. I think that they have a great leader. You know, I think they have a great leader. I think that they have really amazing adoption. They have fast transactions. It's cheap. You know, I think it's pretty good. People say a lot of derogatory things and have judgments about the user base of BSC, but that's like the world community. You know, it's a global community, and how people choose to move in and out. You know, maybe people shouldn't launch so many shit coins on BSC so that people aren't so scared, right? Of like holding something for longer than a day or something, you know, whatever the stereotype is.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and a lot of stereotypes, a lot of things about BSC. However, I think that it has a really amazing leadership team. I think it's like I say it's a good project.
Yeah.
Although it's like a mammoth, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
gargantuan sized project. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Joey. I don't know. Let's try to I want to
sorry.
kind of pivot. No, no problem. I want to pivot to something that came across the news late last week, and it's about research. Let me see here. I don't know if we have enough. Let me take us out. Doesn't make it much better. I'll put us back. Well, rather than kind of
This
read this thing verbatim, the point of this article, and I'll leave a link when this comes out. Um, this is in this was in higher ed, inside higher ed uh, news, and their point is the government is the United States government is going to make it so that if they're funding research, that research has to be made available in a short period of time, or I believe without any delay as of 2026. And we've been talking a lot on this platform about kind of ways to make information available more quickly. And behind the scenes, without divulging too much, we've talked a bit about the difference between creating platforms that allow for this process and creating potential uh, groups to help foster these kinds of changes in terms of from a political aspect, right? We've talked a little bit about what that means for lobbying and other things to make it so. And
Mhm.
I'm very impressed to see that there is work happening in advance of some of the things that we've talked about that creates gives us kind of a better blueprint to see the best way to make sure information is being disseminated quickly, widely, publicly. I have a feeling, however, that what that means is that we will find there will be people who will not want to accept, for instance, research funding from the United States government if, in fact, they don't want to make their information public as early.
Right.
What's your take?
Well, I see. I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay,
Right.
very skeptical.
Well, I mean, people say all this stuff all the time, but like, is it? I'm sure there's a lot of tax funded research, you know, that is like top secret, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's my take.
yeah.
All right. There's probably some type of missile system. There's probably some type of you know, satellite system that they're never going to make public, right?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah. That
yeah.
that's my thing. I think that it's great for science. You know, that's like the the buzzwords, right? It's great for science. It's great for getting letting the public be more involved in everything that's going on. However, is it going to happen? Come on. Like
Well,
I think with some stuff,
yeah.
right? But you have like this whole veil. Like this is just my opinion. Don't come after me, guys. But
Yeah.
you have just keeping it real. You have this whole veil of you know of taxpayer funded research. Uh, you know, there's
Well,
all sorts of government contracts, right? For
yeah.
F-35 development. You think we're gonna have access to to the blueprints?
Yeah. Okay. In fairness, maybe you're right. Sure, but arguably though, we wouldn't have gotten those any other way. From like maybe if we're talking about matters of national security, your kind of high level Area 51 stuff that they can't divulge. Like I get that, but if you're in a research lab at uh, Iowa State University somewhere, and you need money, and you're trying to work on, I don't know, stem cell research. Like I'm saying, say maybe something that's more vanilla than some of the things that we could probably think about that they won't divulge, but that does help. Helps the field. I mean, I think if to your point, there aren't too many loopholes for transparency. Like if they don't create an out that says, well, exposing this information will somehow jeopardize my project, it will jeopardize the research, it will jeopardize whatever. If there's no stipulation for that, and you accept the funds, then we're farther ahead because now some of the other journals are now doing what we wish they would do already. The challenge, however, is I just believe that people who are not interested in participating, like how do you compel, but for the money, how do you compel someone to participate in that publication process if they don't want to, like, if they don't want their information made available that quickly? If what do you do? How do you otherwise compel them to participate in the kind of decentralized science journaling process that we imagine?
uh, well, I think it would help. I'm just trying to wrap my head around some of this. Like, man, this one's a tough one. I'd have to do some more thinking. My first thought, right, when I look at this is like, I think my first take is like, oh, this is great, right? Because if all then this publicly funded research, all these people are working hard, they don't have to pay for some of these publications, right? It's just going to come out as, hey, this is what your tax money is going to, which I think is awesome.
Right, right.
But I think that where does most of the tax money for federally funded research go to? It goes towards weapons, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Airplanes, weapons,
National defense stuff.
yeah, globalization, natural resource, procurement. You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
that's where most of it's going. New anti-hacking software, computer teams, cybersecurity, right? Like they're not gonna send that out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, okay, so to your point, then maybe you know, not to go on too much of a tangent, but I think this matters. We advocate. I believe you and I are on the same page with the public sharing of most, if not all, information in science. Like that is what would really help the field along if everyone were sharing. In order for this process to work, everyone has to participate. Everyone has to play a specific role. Well, to your point, there are people who are working on things that is not in the public interest for the public to know of all the details. How do we address those issues in general? Like if everyone cannot participate, then isn't that a fundamental flaw in the desire to have decentralized science in its publication? Because we cannot then disseminate all information truthfully, fairly, honestly, because it could fall in the wrong hands.
Right. Well, I think that you have like three sectors, probably more,
Mm,
you
mm,
probably more, but let's just call it three, right? You have the public sector, which is supposed to be this, right? What we're looking at. Okay.
mm,
But you really have like a private public sector, which is which is all the stuff that, here that we're never going to see. you know. And then
yeah.
we have the private sector. And what DeSci should be, right? Or excuse me, what decentralized research I think should be, or whatnot, is giving anybody the opportunity to be involved in pretty much anything that they want to be. If the people working on the project will let them. And I think the combination of all that would be really great. Like a public, private, total community, global ecosystem of research, I think would be ideal. Which I think that we can get to in some aspects.
Mm,
This
mm,
tax funded stuff becoming public, it's a people say, oh, this is a big win. It's a big win for science. It's amazing, bro. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
not a win because it's not real, right? That's true.
yeah. I mean, it looks cool.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I'm just keeping
Yeah,
I'm just keeping it real, man. You know what I mean? I could
yeah.
come on here and be like, oh yeah, all research that we pay for, we're gonna be able to see. Give me those F-35 blueprints. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, not happening.
Although there is a place in Florida, I bet you could find them. We'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man. You. I think you're right. Um,
Bro, I'm right.
so you don't have to guess. I mean, yeah,
Sorry, folks. They're not gonna give us the stuff.
yeah,
They'll give us some, maybe. They'll give us, maybe some green energy stuff, but not
yeah,
not blueprints for war.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so what then? Maybe final question on that. What do you think the scope should be? Like, if you could wave a magic wand and gather and disseminate any information that you saw fit, what would you exclude?
Uh, what do you mean?
Well,
Like what would I not send to the public?
yeah. I mean, so we create the journal and we're saying, hey, we'll accept everything. But
Mm.
then at certain point, shouldn't we say, hey, man, I don't know if this is okay on this platform? Because while we
Ah,
are interested in everything, maybe
interesting. You're
we
talking
don't.
about censorship. What should we
Yeah.
censor? Ooh, well, personally, okay. So I think that you know, you're going to need people of every gender and every color, okay,
Mm,
deciding that.
yeah. Yeah.
and if they, and hopefully they agree on something, because
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 uh, I saw something. Oh, I shouldn't even go into it. Somebody sent me a news article just the other day of there's a patient that's suing their psychiatrist over their regret of a reassignment surgery.
Mm,
And I'm like,
wow.
so yeah, I mean, I think that if you were going to censor something, or highlight certain things, right, in order to not have any particular bias, okay, or any particular narrative, which a lot of the media, right, is, in some type of bias or narrative. Uh,
Mm,
you're going to need some level-headed people of every race and gender and background, and have them contribute based on their bias. I think that AI will be able to do that personally. I think that it would be okay because then you could always have a scapegoat, right? If somebody's like, "Oh, this article is sexist. This article is racist," you could be like, "It was the AI.
yeah.
It was the computer." you know? So, so that's what I would
Yeah.
do. That's what I would do. I'd be like, "Sorry guys, this wasn't me. This was the computer that did this."
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Within the last maybe year or two, I was, me and my documentaries. I watched a documentary similar to what you just said, and the argument was there's a inherent gender bias in AI because the people programming everything are guys, and so like the AI is only going to give out what you put in it, and therefore, even though you use this artificial intelligence to alleviate biases, the bias still exists through the original program, the ideas that you gave it.
well,
The,
you know what? This is going to sound maybe a bit crazy, but I imagine that AI, if it was going to have a bias, considering that most of the people working on this stuff and also writing articles, are woke, right?
mm,
It will the bias will probably flip to an anti-patriarchal type of bias uh, sometime soon, right? Because I mean, if you think about the amount of
yeah,
information, yeah, if you think about the amount of information and also culture of some of the people working on some of this stuff, it will inevitably flip, to a more woke, liberal, educated, type of perspective. I think so.
I don't know. Is that
It
better
would
or
be good if
worse?
it was balanced. It would be good if it was balanced. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
I hope that answered the article thing. I'm just trying to keep it real,
yeah.
Ken. I think that it's great. I think that yeah, it would be great if we had access to all the information. But man, it. It's not
It's not gonna happen.
not gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, it can't be everything, and it doesn't make sense to be everything.
Yeah, you don't want to just send the blueprints, like
Uh,
taxpayers funded some new weapon, like, oh,
yeah.
here, everybody, all that you guys paid for it, here's the info, and then everybody
Yeah.
can make like some, you know, they
Here are
go
the
make
updates of our missile
35 in
defense
their
system.
garage. There you go.
Don't
Yeah.
want to know. Yeah. There's certain things that are happening that I literally just don't even want to know. Right.
I think
Like,
some
I don't
stuff.
even want to know.
I think there should be some, topics that are out there. Like if they're trying to, it's gonna sound so cliche, but like let's say there's a new like wind turbine design, and if the information was out there, you would have the best people collaborating on that and seeing if they can make it better. The problem with that, I think sometimes, and this is just a perspective from like that collective generation, if publicly funded research is going down one path of some specific wind turbine, right? And you have all the minds trying to look at that wind turbine and trying to see how to make that one wind turbine better,
Mm,
then you won't have one person think, I'm going to do it completely differently than this publicly funded research, right? And that's how they would make something that would make the wind turbine obsolete,
mm,
right?
mm,
But if everybody is like focusing in on one information set, right? Then they're going to be they've created a construct in their mind that they're working within, and so now they're just trying to make a better wind turbine
right.
instead of trying to make something that is totally new, right?
Right.
'Cause
Right.
they'd be like, maybe we should just have kites, just taking in the lightning or something, right?
Mm,
And have it be completely different. And I think that's what people like Tesla, right? Um, were able to do. You have one guy that's like, let's send wires everywhere, and that's the construct that everybody thought needed to happen, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And he's like, we don't need wires, right?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like yeah, so you can't. I think so that's one problem. I think like maybe you should have maybe decentralized science should actually be not so much information sharing, so that people can actually innovate with their own you know direction of thinking, right? Because if everybody has access to all the information, it sort of starts to create like these structures that like their imagination becomes sort of closed in. So I think sci-fi is super cool in that regard, right? Because like where if you look at like that creation paradigm, if it is like some type of collective unconscious mind, where are they tapping in when they're drawing some of these things, right? Nobody's
Mhm.
seen an alien, nobody's seen other worlds, nobody's seen this future technology, nobody's seen like these things like in Gundam Wing, where they have like these worlds that are rotating, like these space stations that are rotating in some type of cylindrical thing with grass and trees that you can look straight up and see them above. What if where is that creativeness coming from if one person in the world can think about and draw a picture of some type of other world, right? Like a Japanese cartoon, but then you also have like an American person that's never seen those images, but they can draw similar images, right? Whereas I think that if you have everybody looking at the same info, then you want to get that new that whatever it is that's new, right? So that's where I think that it's pretty important. We're going deep. We're going deep, Ken.
It's the meta.
Yeah. Hopefully
You
this
know,
one circulates.
yeah. Yeah, I hope so too. And I'm going to maybe maybe we'll pick up where we just left off next time, because what I want to say is not going to fit within the next 5 minutes. So
Right on.
we'll do that. And thank you guys for watching, and we will be back shortly.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Joey. Hang on. I can never get us out of here. There's a